Greetings, Happy New Year, and welcome to TB AIBD. This is our very first interview for this year, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Jimmy Khalil. He is a pencil artist, and he works from Malaysia. Welcome to the program. Jimmy, how are you today?
Hello, Philo. Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love your background, and I love that hat, which is the signature of Jimmy Khalil.
I love to wear it.
Okay, so Jimmy, you are a pencil artist, and tell me, how did this career begin? I've seen many sketches of you of very important people, not just Malaysians, but also people from abroad. But perhaps you can start off by telling me, is this something that you worked for, or is this a hobby that began very much earlier in your life?
It started as a hobby when I was 13 years old, and it mushroomed from there by chance. I draw portraits because a face is powerful, because every line or curve tells a story of a life and the experiences that come with it. To capture this accurately is a challenge to me. And when I feel I've done a good job, it gives me great fulfillment. So that's why I draw.
It's very exciting what you just said, Jimmy, that every face has character. And as a pencil artist,
Yes.
Capturing pictures of faces of people. And that involves capturing a lot of their life as well, right? The lines on their faces, or the smile that you might have, like the Mona Lisa, for instance, the actual capturing of that moment. So tell me what inspired you to go into this?
Okay, a huge challenge working in both the government and private sectors after completing my higher studies. After many years down the road, I decided to use my pencil strokes to define my fate, and I haven't looked back since. My artistic endeavors certainly beats working as a draftsman in an architect firm, working as an officer in a bank, or at an embassy or a government agency. As for motivation, my work has taken me places, locally and abroad, and I have since met many interesting faces, like singers, movie directors, or judges. And for the first time in my life, I got to do something which brings me international recognition and job satisfaction.
Fantastic. And I know that you have drawn many important people. I've seen a pencil sketch of Brooke Shields. I've seen pencil sketches of some of the Malaysian judiciary. Now, these are important people that you've sketched, and also for important companies in Europe, for instance, especially in Britain, where you were there sometime. Now, can you share with us some of your best work or illustrations, Jimmy?
I recently did a drawing titled Music of My Mind. It showcases an orang asli, indigenous people of Malaysia, playing the mouth flute. I like music. So music brings out all sorts of emotions. With it, we can dream, have fun, and create. Music has a healing power to me. It has the ability to keep people out of their cells and enjoy.
And not every artist can play music. You are a pianist as well, and a guitarist. So is that a combination of art of the arts? Because you are an artist as well as a musician. Is it something which is all self-taught, like your pencil art?
Oh yes, it's all self-taught. I love to play the piano and the guitar. Usually, after having devoted several hours of my art.
Okay, I want to come back to your art as it is. Tell me, what are some of your most exciting or most memorable piece of work that you've done, Jimmy?
Okay, I do a lot of portraits actually, and there are some special moments. There were in the past. For example, at 14 in 1980, I sketched a portrait of US singing star Donny Osmond and presented it to him as a surprise gift when I got invited unexpectedly to meet his entire family in their hotel room during their concert in KL.
Hmm.
He was so impressed that he signed my portrait, and so did his sister Marie. And while I was in the UK, I did a portrait of one of Britain's renowned playwrights, Sir David Hare, and managed to deliver it to him.
Mhm.
I got to meet interesting faces, I must say. And I got to meet Paul Freeman. He's one of Britain's well-regarded actors. He's known for playing the rival archaeologist Rene Belloc in the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, you said you started drawing at the age of 13, especially portraits. What was the first piece of work that you did at the age of 13? Who did you draw?
Who did I draw? You'd be surprised. It was John Travolta, because my sisters, they were big fans of John Travolta, and they asked me whether I could draw his face, which I did. It started from there.
Wow, okay. So it was the Saturday night inspiration. That hit you,
so to speak, it was in the 70s.
Great, awesome. Okay, so drawing, sketching. You mentioned painting as well. Are you talking about oil on canvas, or are you talking about what kind of painting are you talking about here?
Oh yes, I do paint by using oil in acrylic, because I try to inject something new in each project. I've actually worked on a movie magazine in the UK, which was called New Empress. It ran from 2011 until 2014. So I was the contributing illustrator for about 3 years, where I got the chance to use watercolor besides using pencils and whatnot. Yeah.
You've also done illustrations for some important work in the UK. If I'm not mistaken, you've done a book with lots of illustrations of yours. And so today it's being kept and shared with a lot of people. Jimmy, you're very modest.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful for the chance given me in the past. I treasure all those moments.
Okay, so tell me, how do you judge that a work is good? How many times do you actually draw? Like if I ask you to draw somebody or sketch someone, how long does it take you to draw that person or that individual?
It depends on. I use photos as a source of reference. So it depends on the sharpness of the photo. The sharper it is, the longer it takes for me to draw.
So which do you prefer, looking at a photograph and sketching an individual, or you want someone to pose for you and then you draw their picture?
I prefer to use photos as a reference.
Why? Does it actually show the actual person's expression?
Yes, it does.
I mean, I've heard about artists looking at people and then, they start sketching. But you're saying that you rather look at a photograph.
Yes, I am by nature a reclusive person. I would withdraw into myself from the company of others so that I can draw comfortably. Well, most of the time.
Okay. So what do you think? People always talk about art having a soul or a picture having a soul. How do you define that? Like when you draw somebody, right? When you sketch a face, how do you bring out that soul of that individual? How do you capture the soul so that it's not just a static piece of art that's sitting there on the table?
Yes. The work comes from your passion. That is what a calling is. We all are called. Everyone has a calling. So if you, as an artist, you have to know what sparks the light in you in being an artist, so that you may just illuminate those around you with your work.
Okay. How do you describe a person, right? Like, for instance, as an artist, as a pencil artist as well, and also a person who has done oil and crayon or, other kind of mediums that you use for your paintings. What do you think is the most difficult part about a human's face that you find difficult to capture? What is the most challenging face or angle that you have to work with?
I would say the eyes. As the eyes are the windows to a person's soul. As they say, they have stories to tell. So the eyes.
TV AIBD, a platform connecting the world virtually. Bring to your screen a plethora of real-time informative content. Everything from the latest trends in immersive technologies, regional media stories, insight from world leaders, and industry intelligentsia, empowering broadcasters worldwide. Connect with TV AIBD now, connecting the world.
How much time do you take, Jimmy, to draw a face?
10 hours or so.
Is it
It could be-
continuous work? Do you do it continuously?
I could draw 6 hours straight, but again, it depends on my mood. I have to feel the soul of the drawing before I submit to my client. I have to like it before I give it away.
How do you get that soul of the feeling? You know, do artists look at the picture for very long before they actually start sketching? Is there something that you study, the facial features of the individual, you know, like the bone structure, or how do you study this?
It's best if I get to know the client before I draw.
Mm-hmm.
Then perhaps I could inject the soul into the drawing.
Yes, of course. So, you know, I'm talking to Jimmy Khalil. He's a pencil artist and he has drawn a lot of important people. And Jimmy, you've been working with the Malaysian judiciary. And
Yes.
How is it? You know, I often see you going to the Malaysian courts. And do you sit and draw these people, or is it again working with pictures?
I work with pictures. I'm their resident artist for the yearbook since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is to draw portraits of judges, only judges, for their yearbook, which has been ongoing since the past 10 years or so. So I got lucky actually. It wasn't an overnight thing because it started it's sometime in the 90s, where about I was asked to draw portraits of the late Sultan of Perak at the time, and who was also a former king, our king. And he was also the former Lord President and the Vice Chancellor of the university. So it started from there. And the commission works from the judiciary. That was given to me some 10 years later, almost a decade later. And I've been their resident artist for the past 10 years. So it's a long way. It's a journey.
And congratulations on that, because I've seen some great works that you've done with the judiciary. And when you're drawing such important people, you know, these are the people who you're talking about, the Attorney General, you're talking about Lord Presidents. What are some of the thoughts on your head that you try to capture from these important individuals?
I'll try to get the best angle I could. And if I could, I would spend some time with them and get to know them better so that I can inject the soul into the drawing. But it's not easy. Normally, I only have the photos to deal with.
Okay.
So I just figure it
out. In this interview. And I want to ask you about some of your exhibitions that you've held, right?
Yes.
Or are planning to hold with pencil art.
Yes. I did one recently. It's called Music of My Mind, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah. That was a bit personal because it's about a person who's playing a musical instrument, and I could relate to it because I play few musical instruments. And I chose an Orang Asli because I wanted to highlight them.
The indigenous people.
The indigenous people, yeah. I wanted to highlight the indigenous people in Malaysia. As I believe music is a universal language, and we all could understand what it's all about. And that was why I chose that individual.
So how was it like? Do you sell your art pieces, Jimmy? Do you have exhibitions and sell your artwork, or is it just for a hobby, or how do you take your art? Is it for sale?
It's for sale, yeah. It's for sale. I got lucky though. But I don't get to sell them most of the time. But that is the life of an artist. You may not sell this time, but you may be able to sell it in the next exhibition. So it's part of our life as an artist.
Okay. What about your plans? And I'd like to ask you first about the rising digital art. Today, people are also doing pencil art, but they are using the digital medium. Okay, and so how do you, as a pencil artist, spending hours on art, feel about this digital art?
Digital art is good for those who want to learn, because we have all the tools required in the same program.
Mm-hmm.
But digital art is data. It may be able to capture the soul and essence because of the advance in technology, but traditional art is more valuable because every piece is original. Being a traditional artist, I prefer traditional art over digital art because everything is always different and unique because it's a physical creation, unlike digital art.
And it's very exciting because there's so much of new things that are coming up with digitization. And as an artist, this is something that you might be thinking. Some people love the digital angle, some people like the traditional aspect. But like I said, some things like capturing the soul and essence of an individual can only be done by another human as compared to AI.
Yes, I agree. But progress is impossible without change. So I'm not opposed to it. As George Bernard Shaw says, progress is impossible if people are opposed to change. And change will not happen.
Okay. Tell me, what is one of your most exciting or most important faces that you've drawn over time? You've started this from the age of 13. So we're talking about 4 decades of art there. So yeah. So what is the most exciting besides the ministers or presidents, or who was the most exciting face and the one that you love most of all your art pieces?
I love every single one of them. Every single artwork is special to me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and for allowing me to become an artist.
I see. Okay, so what's your 2022 plan, Jimmy? What do you have in mind?
For me, to go far from the madding crowd, to look for peace and quiet, because I live in Kuala Lumpur. It's so busy. For me, I would travel far afield to just look and look, because I never know where I might end up with a picture. Only after doing it, I will discover what I'm trying to do. I do have the Maldives in mind, which is famous for its pristine beaches, and it's a place which is good for seascapes, and of course the UK, where I had studied. For example, Richmond, a town southwest of London, it offers rolling hills and a picturesque view of the River Thames. It was where I walk about as a student. Sometimes a lonely walk offers you peace of mind. So I enjoy that.
I think these are all beautiful inspirations that you're having, Jimmy. Artists always travel and artists always see new places, new faces. And you just don't focus on faces, but you also focus on buildings, on landscapes, seascapes,
Yes.
and the essence of the indigenous people that you mentioned, and also music. So what can I say but that you are such a beautiful soul, So perhaps we look at 2022 and look at some of the work that probably you can do. Together, perhaps, we might think of some new and interesting ideas as an illustrator. So Jimmy Khalil is not just an artist, he's also an illustrator. He's also someone who works with portraits. And Jimmy Khalil also does face masks. And Jimmy, you've brought out the essence of Malaysia's own art, the batik, on your face mask. That's really exciting.
Yes. Thank you for bringing it out. I forgot about it. I did my face mask collection due to the pandemic. It was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was in 2020. Yeah. The idea came up when a school friend of mine came up with this fund to help those affected financially by the pandemic. I'm so happy because in the end I could contribute profit from the sales of the face mask to my friends who were affected. So it was the least I could do. So,
and that was a beautiful piece of face mask, that whole collection that you did, Jimmy. And
thank you so
it went
much.
for a good cause. Yeah. Thank you so much.